Hey everyone, this is Mike and welcome to my introduction guide to White Mage. In today's video I'll be going over everything that you need to know to play White Mage at level 90. Let's get started with our basic DPS tools. So for single target we have Glare. This is just going to be our spammable skill that we are going to be using most of the time. This has a 1.5 second cast time, meaning that between each cast we also get to use one of global cooldown. So it's going to be very useful to weave in our healing mitigation and all of our other healing spells as well. We also have a damage over time ability, which is Dia, and unique to White Mage is that this one has an upfront damage value. So whenever you need to move around a lot and you don't have any of your movement tools available, you can just refresh Dia early and it's not going to be as big of a damage loss as it would be for our other healers, but of course try to only use this or reapply this when the timer runs out. For AoE we have Holy. This will deal AoE damage around us. You don't need a target for this, and this will also stun enemies. Now the stun is going to be resisted eventually, but as long as it's not resisted, this will reduce some damage that your tank is taking because stunned enemies cannot deal damage. Last but not least, we also have Presence of Mind. This is an attack speed steroid on a 2-minute cooldown. And when this is available, we're just going to be casting really fast compared to before because we get 20% attack speed. And this of course also works on our healing abilities. So you usually want to use this on cooldown to get more damage out, but of course if it was to line up with a healing section of the fight, you can use that to quickly pump out some heals. Or if you need to resurrect someone, your swift cast is on cooldown, then you'll of course be cutting the rest time by 20% as well. So that does it for our basic DPS actions. We still have some other actions that deal damage, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So for our healing, for single target, we have Cure. This also has a very small chance to grant us a free Cure proc, and that will make it so that our Cure 2 has no mana cost attached to it. However, once we unlock Cure 2, this is going to be the stronger version of Cure. We only want to be using this one because it's just more efficient. It does cost more mana, but of course you're spending less GCDs to do more healing, so that's why that one is going to be more valuable. We also still have a regen that we can apply. This is an instant cast GCD, so if you need to move around and your tank does not have a regen, you can just quickly throw it on them, and this will just regen over time, just as the name implies. For AoE we have a little bit more than the other healers as well. So for our normal AoE we have Medica, just does some AoE healing. Medica 2 also does AoE healing, but will also apply a regen over time effect in an AoE around you, and the total healing that you're going to be doing is going to be more than with normal Medica. But of course, the healing over time effect does not stack, so if you need to heal multiple times in a row, then just spamming Medica is going to be better than spamming Medica 2. Last but not least, we also have Cure 3, and this is an incredibly powerful AoE heal. It also costs a lot of mana and it's in a very tiny radius. Now the cool thing about this one though is that if you need to heal from a distance, say for example your party is stacked here at the boss and you need to run away for a mechanic, then you can still target a party member with Cure 3 and then heal them when you're far away. Of course I don't have a party member so I can't show this, but if you need to be away for a mechanic and the group is stacked together and they require healing, just target them with Cure 3 and you'll be able to heal the party as long as they are stacked together. So in the right circumstances this can be a very powerful tool. Do keep in mind though that it eats into your mana quite a bit. Now to mitigate our mana problems we have Thin Air. Whenever we use this we get a buff, and then our next GCD that we use is not going to be costing any mana. And then we have 2 stacks of this as well. So this is going to be quite helpful to mitigate some of our mana problems that White Mage does have. You of course want to be using this whenever you are trying to use some of your more mana intensive spells, like for example a Medica 2, a Cure 3, or if you have to res someone for example. Those are all very expensive spells. So that does it for our normal GCD healing, but we still have some special GCD healing in relation to this gauge over here, which is the Lily gauge. Now every 30 seconds that we are in combat we are going to be gaining one of these lilies, and we can spend these on 2 abilities. For single target we have Afflatus Solus. This is an instant cast well, no mana costing GCD heal, so this is also again gonna help with your mana a little bit. And for AoE we have Afflatus Rapture. Now as you can see, my Lily Gauge is slowly building back up again. It's a little bit hard to see because the aura on it is a bit faint, but it is building up because I am still in combat, because I'm aggroed to the striking dummy. Now whenever we use one of these Lily heals, we are building up our Blood Lily, which is this red one that you can see on our job gauge. And whenever we use 3 of them, I'm going to use my third one, it's completely blooming, and then now we can use Afflatus Misery, which is a targeted AoE damaging ability that will refund some of our damage, because every time that we're using a GCD to heal, we're not pressing Glare, and Glare is of course going to give us damage, and this is basically going to refund most of that damage. We're using 4 GCDs to, of course, do the 3 heals and then the Misery as well, and we are getting 3 GCDs worth of Glare refunded back. So pretty decent trade if you ask me. So that does it for our GCD healing, but we still have a lot of other off-global cooldowns to use as well. Let's first start off with Planetary Indulgence. This is a buff that we can grant to ourselves, and whenever we do AoE healing with our GCDs, we are going to be getting an extra heal on top of it. So if I use my Medica right here, you can see that I get 1 healing number, 7000, but if I use Planetary Indulgence, I get the Confession buff. If I now use Medica, you see that Planetary Indulgence also healed me for 3500, and then here, for example, with my Cure 3 as well. So all of our GCD healing is going to be boosted basically whenever Planetary Indulgence is active, granting us an extra heal on top of that. We then have Assize. This is one of the best skills that we have because it does 3 things for us. First of all, it regens MP for us, so again really good for our mana management. It does AoE damage and it also does AoE healing. So basically we want to be using this on cooldown because it's such an amazing ability for what it does. But if you know, for example, that an AoE raid wipe is gonna happen in like 5 seconds after it comes off cooldown, you can of course hold it for a little bit, but we have a lot of other tools as well, so generally you'll want to be using Assize on cooldown because it's just such a good skill. For single target, we have Tetragrammaton, or Tetra for short. This is just an off-global cooldown single target heal. We also have Benediction. This is the strongest heal in the game because it will automatically put someone at maximum HP. Even if your tank was at 1 HP, like for example a Gunbreaker that used Super Bolide or a Dark Knight that used Living Dead, this will immediately put them back at the maximum HP. Incredibly strong heal. Then for AoE healing, we have Asylum. This is a bubble that you place on the floor, and then as long as people are standing inside of this bubble, they get a regen over time effect, and they also get an increased in healing received buff. So this is just really great for a lot of things. It regens over time, and it also grants that healing buff in case you need to heal a bit extra on top of that as well, then that will be easier. Of course, as soon as you leave the bubble, you're not going to be getting the heal or the healing buff, but yeah, you'll basically just want to try to stand inside of that as much as possible. Last but not least, we also have the Liturgy of the Bell, or the Lily Bell. This is something that we place on the floor, and then we get 5 Lily Bell stacks, as you can see right here, 5 stacks. Now every time I, as the White Mage, take damage, then this Lily Bell is going to be doing an AoE heal, and if we do not take any damage, then at the end of its duration it will do an AoE heal automatically, depending on how many stacks of Lily Bell were left. The more stacks you have left, the more powerful this heal is going to be, but the total healing output is going to be more efficient if the Lily Bell gets procced. So it's best used in situations where you as the White Mage are going to be taking a few different instances of damage. If there are no such instances in a fight, you can just place it down as a normal off-global cooldown AoE heal. Now, White Mage doesn't only have heals, we also have a few damage mitigating spells. First of all, we have our Divine Benison. This is a shield that we can put on ourselves or on another party member as well, and this stacks up to 2 times, so very useful. And we also have Aqua Veil, and this is just a damage reduction effect. Only lasts for 8 seconds, so you'll have to time this a little bit better than something like, for example, Divine Benison, because it lasts 15 seconds, but still a very good skill to use nevertheless. And for AoE, we can also reduce our damage taken by using Temperance. This makes us Sprout Wings, looks quite nice as well, and this will increase our healing output by 20%, but it will also decrease the party's damage taken by 10%. So it mitigates the damage and it makes our healing stronger, so just a very potent spell to use. And then the only thing that's left is to talk about our role actions. So to get mana back, we have Lucid Dreaming. This will regenerate mana over time. We have Surecast, this negates most knockbacks. We have Rescue, which will pull a party member towards us to pull them out of an AoE or something like that. We have Swiftcast, this makes our next GCD instant cast so that we can, for example, Swiftcast resurrect someone, because your resurrection has a very long cast time. But of course, if you need to move or if you need to heal on the fly or something, you can use that as well. And then Repose will put a target to sleep, but this is something that we're not really going to be using all that often. And then last but not least, we have Esuna. This will remove one detrimental effect from a party member. So if someone has a poison stack or something else that can be Esuna, which is indicated by this little symbol right here that you can see on the screen right now, you can just get rid of the bad effect that is on your teammate by using Esuna. And that is going to do it for the introduction to White Mage. If you have any more questions, then feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll definitely get back to you. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my Patreons for their support, and I'll see you in the next one.